Tony Stark, the genius billionaire behind Iron Man, sat in his high-tech lab at Stark Tower, surrounded by holographic schematics and advanced AI systems. Life had been relatively calm since the last major threat to Earth was neutralized by the Avengers. But Tony knew better than to let his guard down. One morning, Tony received an urgent message from Pepper Potts, CEO of Stark Industries. Dr. Maya Hansen, a brilliant scientist who had once worked on the Extremis virus, had gone missing. Hansen had been working on a new, groundbreaking project called the Genesis Protocol, which aimed to revolutionize renewable energy. The implications of her disappearance were dire. Tony immediately suited up and flew to Maya's last known location, a remote research facility in the Swiss Alps. As he arrived, he found the place in disarray, with signs of a struggle. His onboard AI, Jarvis, detected encrypted data fragments scattered across the lab's systems. Someone had deliberately tried to erase their tracks. Back at Stark Tower, Tony began the arduous task of decrypting the data. Hours turned into days, and just as frustration set in, Jarvis identified a hidden message embedded within the fragments. It was a distress signal from Maya, detailing that she had uncovered a sinister plot by an unknown entity known as the Black Order to weaponize the Genesis Protocol. Maya's message included coordinates to an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Berlin. Tony knew he was running out of time. The Black Order was known for their ruthlessness and their ties to the underworld. If they succeeded in weaponizing the Genesis Protocol, the consequences would be catastrophic. Tony flew to Berlin, where he covertly scouted the factory. Using advanced stealth technology, he infiltrated the building, finding a hidden lab equipped with advanced weaponry and research stolen from Stark Industries. The Black Order's operatives, clad in black tactical gear, were hard at work, unaware of Tony's presence. Tony's reconnaissance revealed that the leader of the Black Order was a former Stark Industries employee, Ezekiel Stain. Stain, who had a personal vendetta against Tony, was using the Genesis Protocol to create a new generation of energy weapons that could destabilize nations and ignite wars. Tony decided to act. He confronted Stain, who was taken aback but quickly recovered, taunting Tony with the details of his plan. A fierce battle ensued, with Tony's advanced armor pitted against Stain's enhanced soldiers. Despite the overwhelming odds, Tony's tactical brilliance and superior technology allowed him to gain the upper hand. In the midst of the chaos, Tony found Maya locked in a containment unit. Freeing her, they made a desperate dash to secure the Genesis Protocol data. However, as they reached the mainframe, Stain initiated a self-destruct sequence, determined to bury them all. With seconds to spare, Tony uploaded the Genesis Protocol to his suit's secure servers and used his repulsors to blast a hole in the factory wall. He and Maya escaped just as the building erupted in a massive explosion, a testament to the destructive power of Stain's twisted ambitions. Back in the safety of Stark Tower, Tony and Maya worked together to decode the Genesis Protocol fully. They discovered that Stain had only scratched the surface of its potential. The protocol could indeed revolutionize energy, but it needed to be safeguarded from those who would use it for harm. The destruction of the Berlin factory dealt a significant blow to the Black Order, but Tony knew that Stain and his operatives were still out there, plotting their next move. He decided to take proactive measures. Using the Genesis Protocol as a foundation, Tony developed a series of countermeasures to prevent its misuse. He also established a covert task force within Stark Industries to monitor and counteract any future threats from the Black Order. Despite the immediate threat being neutralized, Tony couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play. The Black Order's interest in the Genesis Protocol hinted at a deeper conspiracy. Determined to uncover the truth, Tony began to dig deeper into their operations, using all the resources at his disposal. As Tony delved into the Black Order's network, he uncovered a shocking revelation. The organization was merely a pawn in a much larger game orchestrated by a shadowy figure known only as the Architect. This enigmatic mastermind had been manipulating events from behind the scenes, using the Black Order to execute his grand designs. Tony's investigation led him to an ancient artifact known as the Tesseract, which had been the source of countless conflicts throughout history. The Architect sought to harness the Tesseract's power to control the Genesis Protocol and bend reality to his will. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Tony reached out to his fellow Avengers. Together, they devised a plan to confront the Architect and prevent him from achieving his sinister goals. The stakes were higher than ever, and the fate of the world hung in the balance. The Avengers tracked the Architect to a hidden fortress deep within the Arctic Circle. As they infiltrated the stronghold, they encountered fierce resistance from the Architect's loyal followers. Tony, leading the charge, fought valiantly alongside his teammates, using his advanced armor and cutting-edge technology to turn the tide of battle. As they reached the heart of the fortress, they confronted the Architect. A being of immense power and cunning, he wielded the Tesseract with deadly precision. The ensuing battle was nothing short of cataclysmic, with reality itself warping under the influence of the Tesseract. In a final, desperate move, Tony harnessed the full potential of the Genesis Protocol, using it to counter the Architect's power. With a blinding surge of energy, he shattered the Tesseract, causing a massive explosion that rocked the fortress to its foundations. The battle was won, but at a great cost. The fortress lay in ruins, and the Architect had vanished, his plans thwarted but not entirely destroyed. The Avengers regrouped, battered but victorious, knowing that they had averted a disaster of unimaginable proportions. Back at Stark Tower, Tony and Maya began the painstaking process of ensuring the Genesis Protocol could never be weaponized again. They created a series of safeguards and distributed the technology responsibly, bringing hope to a world in desperate need of clean energy. As Tony stood on the balcony, gazing out over the city, he knew that the fight was far from over. The Architect's shadow still loomed, and the Black Order remained a threat. But for now, there was peace, and Tony was determined to protect it. In a dark, hidden chamber, the Architect stood before a council of shadowy figures. The Genesis Protocol was only the beginning, he said, his voice cold and calculating. Our plans are far from over. The world will soon know the true power of the Architect. As the council murmured in agreement, the Architect smiled. The game was still afoot, and Tony Stark had only seen the opening move. The future held many more challenges, and the battle for the fate of the world had only just begun.